Hi, Tucker. I'm Todd. Hi, Todd. I'm Tucker.
Do I sound far away?
You do not.
Excellent. And you're making noise in my ears rather than at the back of the room, so I'm happy.
That is where I would prefer to make noise.
Would you refer to yourself as a noisemaker?
Yeah, almost compulsively.
A butcher, a baker, and a noisemaker?
Yeah, except I'm pretty shit at all of it except for that last one.
Is that actually a premise right out of the gate? Is a butcher? Because isn't a butcher and a baker and a candlestick maker, they're like in a tub together? Isn't how that nursery rhyme goes?
Whatever they're doing, they're definitely doing it together. So we're gonna replace the candlestick maker with a noise maker?
Well, I don't know if we're gonna replace him, but the noisemaker was part of the group, and he didn't fit in the tub. He was the odd man out, and he's pissed.
And unfortunately, he's gonna do what he does.
And make a whole bunch of noise. And actually, yeah, he's actually extremely annoyed because it's years later, and the three who were in the tub have gone down like in history, and he missed out. He was supposed to be. He's like the Pete Best. He's the fifth Beatle.
He's the fourth musketeer.
Yeah, exactly. He's all of the other reindeer.
Alright. So we've got a noise maker who's making plenty of noise about how he's been forgotten and otherwise pushed aside. It's years later. What's he still doing?
So I mean, when I first envisioned it, because as I'm remembering it that because this is the Rub-a-Dub-Dub 3 Men in a Tub, a butcher, a baker, and a candlestick maker. I can't remember why, but we'll come up with that on our own, I guess, for this one. It's years later. He's like in a pub, like a tavern, and he's complaining to whoever will listen.
Oh, it's one of those. He's paying for his own drinks, sitting there quite alone at the bar on one of the stools, trying to get a bartender's attention so he can finish his story about how he could have made it big.
Or is it sort of a parody of like he has like an MTV reality show where he's like a Z-list celebrity because he has a loose association to the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, who are like Titanic celebrities.
Oh, so he can still ride on their coattails? He still has enough of a connection to do that?
Right. I'm trying to think of a very specific example. I can't remember the guy's name, Dennis something, but the guy who wrote all the songs for Styx, the rock band Styx, he now has to tour with Dennis whatever presents the songs of Styx because he owns the songs, but he doesn't actually have the rights to them or something like that. So like something kind of like that.
That is weird and complicated. What is his continued relationship with those three who've basically gone on to do their own thing without it?
I don't know, like maybe he's got a show, or maybe he's written a book like Noisemaker, the behind the scenes look of the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, or something like that. What you don't know.
Would he really put the three of them together?
Oh dear, is he actually on the thought yacht and he's in a tub? And he's like the person, he's like the oldest celebrity at the comic convention, signing autographs and whatnot.
And only the niche fans actually go to him for an autograph because nobody else knows who he is?
He's in his own tub. I'm not sure where I want to go with this. We've gone so many places already. This is the coffee episode.
Yeah. We've gone all over the place. Are we gonna blame this on the coffee?
I don't know if we're blaming it on the coffee. Maybe it's just the momentum of the bit.
Are we kind of like rampantly overcorrecting for the last episode being a little bit low energy?
Oh, I don't think so. I wasn't actively or mindfully doing that. I was just thrilled with this concept since it kind of came up organically out of nowhere. Of all of the scenarios that I've presented and bounced through, was there one that stuck out to you the most?
Well, I definitely am into the idea of this fifth Beatle, this fourth Musketeer, this guy who's been on the outside only because he couldn't fit in the tub. But I want to figure out how he's still able to ride on that fame years later.
Do you envision it taking place in a time when, because I feel like the nursery time, when you envision a butcher and a baker and a candlestick maker, that's during like Smith era, Smith's era. And so does it take place in the past? Are we using our Tucker and Todd there? Are we using our time machine to go there? Is this important to our world, or does it take place separately?
Well, if he's going to be a celebrity, then it should probably be like an anachronistic, like somehow this occurred in the modern era. Like these are 90s celebrities.
Okay, so if they were so they were big in the 90s. So the thing that they did, so maybe they had a sitcom, a butcher, a baker,
Oh
and a
no,
candlestick maker.
they took off in the 90s. They Keanu Reeves it. Now they're bigger than they've ever been, except for the noisemaker.
That's I'm so that I Did they have a were they stand-ups and then they got or maybe they had like a sketch group, a live sketch group, all four of them, and then the three of them got a sitcom and he wasn't included, but he started there were no podcasts yet. There was no satellite radio yet in the 90s.
No, there was no Opie and Anthony.
Well, I mean there was, but they were kind of secluded to their syndicated networks.
Yes, which means they might as well have not existed. So says me. But these guys were they stand-ups? I think I like the idea of them having a sitcom. But yeah, three of them went on to make that sitcom. What did the four of them do before that, and why didn't the fourth guy get picked up?
Well, because I'm just trying to think of like successful 90s sitcoms, all literally came from stand-ups who had deals. So I want to spin that a little bit. I mean, because this is sort of what, have you seen BoJack Horseman?
I sure have.
I mean, we're kind of treading that water a little bit.
With the big difference being that BoJack Horseman was actually successful at one point, and this fourth guy never really was. He didn't even make it into the gate of success.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what what he is doing that's garnering attention. Maybe he's become a motivational speaker and he tells a story about how he learned how to pick himself up after his career got hijacked. But he does them in like hotel conventions to a crowd of 12.
Okay, so even his new job is not going very well.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this like where it's going, because it can't just be the fact that he exists.
No, and that's why I'm going back in time and wondering what the four of them were doing that got three of them successful and one of them not, and why
Well,
one of
he's
them didn't
okay.
win.
So he's the noisemaker, though. So maybe does he invent the noisemaker? Because is this his like redemption story? He missed out on all that fame, but no. Do we like the idea that he's riding on their coattails?
Yes, I do.
So do we want him to fail or to win?
I want him to be trapped somewhere uncomfortable between neither of those conditions. I mean between both of those conditions, in fact. He is
Okay.
neither winning nor losing. He is just somehow continuing to sustain this minimum level of Z tier success thanks to his loose association with those absolute behemoths.
So does it turn out that what we've been watching is an ad for some sort of medication?
Interesting. Is he doing ads? That would definitely be one thing that he could be doing as a Z tier celebrity.
I'm trying to like lock him in a reality where it doesn't really matter where he wins or loses. So I was trying to like put him in a like a snow globe of some sort or a bubble of some kind.
Obviously, he just needs to be attached to some media company and remain a personality. And also, maybe he's sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
Everybody's sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. It's interesting. I'm really curious to know how much money they've made, because the amount of downloads that they do have is legitimate, but the amount of downloads that they have are impulse clicks from those ads.
Yes, and there's no metric for telling how many of those downloads actually yielded any money for them, but you can definitely see huge volumes of sponsorships that costed them lots of money.
Well, yeah, you can tell that they're making money to spend, and it's
They
working because
they
they're doing it
have to
again.
be. They have to be making tons of money to spend because they're still able to afford all of these sponsorships again and again and again. So they must be doing something right.
It's a pretty interesting Ouroboros scheme. I don't ever know if I'm pronouncing that right. Ouroboros?
Ouroboros? I'm not sure, but it's definitely spending money to make money.
Okay, so maybe that's what he's doing. He's spending money to make money in some way. Does he have a pyramid scheme?
Oh, I would love to get a pyramid scheme in there. That is so funny. The
He's
way
doing an
the
MLM.
way it's definitely they're religious about it. Some of them are almost cult-like. It's funny to watch them. So yes, it definitely needs to be like a nasty MLM, and they're all indoctrinated into it. They're all like, "Congratulations."
This is interesting. Okay, so what does he sell? Does he sell something related to the butcher? He sells like charcuterie trays, butcher, baker. He sells make it like, what's it called? Like the starter for bread, like make your own bread starter, and then wax candle kits? Or is that way too on the nose?
That might be a little too on the nose. And I don't know if he should be in charge of it, but I definitely think that he should be like their celebrity. He's the guy they put in their advertisements.
Okay, so to make it super obvious, then is it vitamins? Vitamins and supplements?
Yeah, that seems like it's probably a good generic idea.
And then they're using him as I really like that idea, actually, that he's the best that they could get.
Yeah, he's their celebrity. So and he relies on his name still existing vaguely due to the other three. And so this is the best that MLM is willing to pay for, and he still has to rely on them to make sure that his name has any steam behind it.
And so does he have a sleazy agent who is Stan?
If anybody could sleaze up as an agent, it would be Stan.
And it's this frustrating triangle of like, well, you booked me this gig. Well, this is the best gig you can get. Well, they wanted you. Well, you're all they can get.
That's just an endless series, like a circle excuse.
Okay, and so so is the joke that he either runs into the original three or like gets a meeting with them to try to sell them vitamins?
Can he even get a meeting with them, or does he just wind up getting a meeting with their people?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Should they meet?
Probably not. It should be impossible for him to get a hold of them. So only their stuff in the past gets to hold any weight for him.
So,
He can't get a hold of them now.
you see him sending them like Facebook messages asking if they're interested, though?
Oh yeah, they're probably on like a spam email list.
Okay. And so, does his celebrity being represented for this pyramid scheme, do they, because we want him to be not winning, not losing, do they get some kind of perpetual deal which sucks? Or do they get caught up in like a lawsuit, which is sort of unimportant?
Well, if it's an MLM, it's probably engaged in a series of lawsuits at any given time, and I'm gonna assume it's just kind of like barely staying afloat, while the people right at the top are getting just like horribly fat and rich, and their celebrity face is just getting what's left, little crumbs. So that's his subsistence
So
level
how
stuff.
do we exit from the story? How do we leave him knowing that it's just gonna continue like that? Does it end on sort of like a somber note?
Oh yeah, probably because this is very somber and it's not going to get better. This guy is just kind of stuck with this lot unless he can hit it big, which maybe he's trying to. Maybe he's got a plan on the side that he's trying to
That'd be sort
develop.
of meta and interesting and funny in a way if we showed this time lapse of him repeating the same routine over and over again, like stuck with these crumbs, right? And then the camera pulls up to show me manipulating the puppets on a time lapse of sort of like depressed sighing as I move the puppets around.
Yeah, low levels of enthusiasm all around. But yeah, he should definitely have some kind of a side project. It's the carrot on the stick. That's why he doesn't eat a shotgun. But it's something that he's like it's a pipe dream. It's either something that never happens or something that's unlikely to happen, but he's working on it, and
Oh,
it's what
does he
keeps him going.
does he get an offer for his own new sitcom years after the success of his friends, but it's like on like a shit network or it's on the internet or something like that? This is the 90s.
Oh, you mean he has a potential opportunity to get in on the ground floor on YouTube or something, or
Like proto
proto
YouTube,
YouTube,
yeah.
and then he doesn't take it.
Because he thinks it would never pan out. He has no faith in the internet.
Yeah, he's a dumbass traditionalist and thinks it'll never work out. And then of course, we can cut back to him even later, having once more squandered an opportunity for success.
Well, I think he will be an Easter egg or like an inside joke in our movie. When we save the internet, we will see him being like swallowed by a gaping maw of the internet.
Ah, interesting. The internet is being personified into this a monster, and it eats.
Well, I can't remember. I don't know if we had discussed it. I know that we went to a planet that had a portal to the realm that was like the origin of the internet. So I figure at some point the internet is not necessarily personified, but is projecting itself into some sort of form. And then, yeah, it has like, like wormholes or whatever opening up like rips in the dimension, the space-time dimension, and things are coming through, and maybe like creature manifestations of the internet are pouring through and swallowing people, and he's one of the people because he needs to be punished for having no faith.
I'm okay with that, and now that it's divine retribution, it's even funnier. He had no faith in the internet, and the internet just bit back.
Yeah. Okay, so he is offered the opportunity to do. I don't even remember what it was back in the AOL existed, so he has an AOL show. You have to install AOL from the disk in order to get to the page where the show is located.
Brutal.
I guess it's like, I think Tom Green had a show before anybody else had a show on the internet, right?
I don't remember who was the. I know he was a pioneer.
Yeah, he had that like barrel roll clip from doing his show in his living room, and I feel like that was like 2000. I just want to look that up just for my curiosity.
Let me know what you discover.
Oh, it started off as a public access show.
Interesting.
2006, it moved from MTV onto the internet. So it was
Okay, well
early.
that's not even an important time.
Nope.
2006. Anything that came both after 2000 stops counting as internet pioneering.
I agree. I do contend. I know that I sort of invented. Actually, never mind. Forget it. Scratch that. Let's move on to what we were talking about.
I don't know. That sounds very interesting.
No, it was I claim to have invented podcasting because shortly after the first iPod came out, because it was before iTunes incorporated the word podcast into old school iTunes. When the first click-wheel iPod came out, all these knockoffs were distributed, right? So I got a Chinese iRiver because I was
Nonconformist.
yes, nonconformist. I'm not going to get an iPod. I'm going to get another expensive thing that other people don't have. But what was cool about it was it had an internal mic and also 2 headphone jacks and a line in. So when I was homeschooled at the time in the year 2003, 2004, because I was craving socialization, I started homeschool teens meet for lunch. So like kids from Calgary would meet downtown and we'd have lunch. So I would record our conversations, which were actually, I mean, it was homeschool kids. It was a different kind of juvenile experience. But I would record those conversations and then I would upload them onto iMeme, which ended up being bought by MySpace, but was just like an early cloud upload, put your music here thing. And so I feel that in a way that was 2003. That was before podcasting was a thing that people were doing as hey, I have a podcast. You could download scraps of MP3s on the podcast section of iTunes, but it wasn't really a thing yet.
So are you suggesting that you're a podcast pioneer?
Yeah, I'm a grassroots pioneer.
And we're only putting a show together now.
We have across all of our platforms 16 subscribers.
Yay, we made it past 10. We made it into double digits.
It's pretty exciting.
Hey man, this is the path to the 100.
Road to 100. Now we got to put that in parentheses on every title of every content we create.
Until we get to 100, and then it's the road to 1 billion. We're gonna like crank it up to we're just gonna go from 1 to 100 speed-wise and crank it up to 11, way past what's reasonable or acceptable.
I like how we're literally cranking it up from 100 to 1 billion, and then you described it as 1 to 100, and then you also described it
up to 11.
Up to 11, yeah.
Yes, it turns out that I can't. I mean, I could just say, "Wow, that really escalated quickly. That got out of hand fast." But it's not as funny as saying 1 to 100 when you just said that 100 is the old limit.
That's true. Wow, we really went from 1 to 100 quickly.
Yeah, in fact, we went from 100 to 1 billion.
All right, enough of this.
All right.
So the noisemaker has a show, and he refuses to do it. And then, do you think we do jump ahead in time and see that the internet has not been what he thought it was, and he's missed out and squandered an opportunity again?
Yes, he has definitely squandered it. He decided that it was a passing fad. It was a phase, and it was going to kind of just disappear. Kind of like Blockbuster thought about streaming and rentals, and how everybody who works in print media thought about audiobooks and Kindle.
And Twitter.
That does not count as writing.
Oh, are you going to be, who was the one I feel who said, what's his nuts? Mr. Lost His Jaw. Movie guy.
Uh-oh.
Roger Ebert. He said that no video game will ever be art.
Oh, what a dickhead. What an awful thing to say. Oh, I wish he was around to see the latest God of War.
I mean, literally almost anything that's come out in the past 5 years. And then I don't know, I'm curious to know, maybe that's why he got jaw cancer. He was trying to eat his words.
Yikes.
But they were poisonous.
Like, he probably just feed him Spec Ops the line. Like, tell me that's not an art piece.
It was, I don't know, it certainly speaks to how much space somebody can make in their brain and project an image of being one thing and then just have a little percentage of something else in the brain and go, oh, never mind.
But I don't think Twitter is a fair comparison.
No, it's a different thing.
Mostly because of the fact that Twitter is a colossal dumpster fire almost all the time.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's designed. I was reading an interesting article, and maybe this is something you knew already and are aware of. But Twitter knows that nobody actually wants to use Twitter, and so it's designed specifically to keep the people who are already there. They know that nobody new is coming.
Interesting. It's more of a containment zone.
Yeah, that's how they operate. That is like their modus operandi is like, look, no new clientele is showing up, so just keep whoever is here sucked into the loop.
They probably still get the occasional new blood, especially when, well, I don't know, maybe Reddit has taken a lot of their people because of all, the horrible, horrible subreddits that are discoverable out there.
Just deplorable.
Cannibals Anonymous and shit.
Okay, so the noisemaker. Okay, so just to do to broadly storyboard, it opens on back in time when all four of them are together, and then
Yeah, it's the four happy friends. It's like a single snapshot.
it moves rapidly. There's maybe even no dialogue. It's kind of like the beginning of Up or whatever. We move rapidly through the success of their career and his not being quite so well, and then moving to where the point where he's now. We get to a scene where maybe we get to a scene where he's complaining in a bar and he's in rough shape, and then we do a callback to that scene when it's later and he's missed out on the internet thing and he's even in rougher shape in the exact same position.
And in the exact same bar.
Yeah.
And if we want to do more visual storytelling, we can definitely have the other three stay in color while he gets progressively more grayscale.
Ooh, that's cool. Yes, I like that.
We can't go all the way into black and white though, because that's stylish. What we want is for no style. We want blend. If anything, he's in danger of going into like sepia.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that. And it also sort of is referring and indicating that he is unable to evolve with everything else that's evolving around him.
Yeah, and in fact, in that regard, we can actually start from a more of a middle point, and then the other three become more colorful, and their colors change and shift, and this guy just becomes more gray.
Yeah, they start moving into Pleasantville and he starts going backwards. Or whatever, whatever I meant.
Yeah, he goes nowhere at all, in fact. He just stagnates and remains static.
I like that. And so everybody else becomes color except him.
Since if we want it to be visual storytelling, yeah, well, we can easily do that with color if we're going to show them diverging.
Well, I mean, we may as well strive for some filmmaking awards while we're at this.
Yeah, absolutely. And since we're storyboarding, but yeah, let's resume your storyboard. We get that rapid progression of them growing apart, with them becoming more spectacular and successful and colorful, and he becomes gray and dull, and 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 then where do we go from there?
So he becomes gray and dull, and then maybe even as if we're doing like a wordless musical montage sort of thing, as everything becomes gray and dull, it actually becomes black around him. It starts like everything becomes black, and he's like left alone in the darkness. And then from the black, it's almost like a play. It dips to black, and then the black dissolves into the bar that he's sitting in. So the lights sort of come up, and he's now in the bar. He's been sitting there alone, kind of crumpled.
I like that. I like that. That's an excellent scene transition.
We're getting very auteur with all this.
Better than being
Openly racist.
Oh my God. Craig, do your work.
yeah, cure me.
Curious. Cure us.
Fix me by replacing my words.
I'm so sorry. We are worms.
Okay, so the scene opens up in the bar after the transition.
And so the scene opens up in the bar, and I think, yeah, maybe he clarifies everything that we've seen. I know we hate exposition, but maybe we come in on the tail end of him saying, and that's how blah blah blah, and that's why blah blah blah, and so it's sort of revealed that everything that we saw was the story that he was telling, so we don't have to hear him tell it.
Oh yeah, I like that. Show don't tell. That's my favorite. So and that's how I got here.
And then the camera pans over to whoever he's been speaking to, and it's like somebody who looks in even rougher shape than him and who is like mildly annoyed by, yeah, no, you told me 17 times or whatever the joke is. You told me last week.
Is it one person or is there a small crowd? Because if there's a small crowd, you can have just like silence and then it's broken up by one person coughing. I love that cliche.
I actually like that too. Yeah.
After the cough, then the person in front who can say that he's already heard this story 17 times.
Well, I'm trying to maybe we just do just the cough, and that's how we avoid having to worry about getting another voice or whatever. We have the
That's
cough,
true.
and then it cuts to him being like, "Ah, fuck you, people."
We can avoid the use of another voice by just having the cough. Anybody can do a cough.
Because when you started saying another voice speaks up, I was wondering if maybe because the other option is maybe he actually has a sympathetic friend there who's like, "Aw, cheer up, noisemaker. Why don't you tell the one about the something or other? People love that one," or something like that. Or the other option is just to cut to him dismiss everyone like, "Ah, who needs you?"
If anybody's gonna say anything vaguely encouraging, it'll be the bartender, because this noisemaker is a good customer. But I do like the what do I need you for kind of attitude to dismissively move on to the next scene right away. Just like cooking with gas. Next scene, next scene, next scene.
Okay, then that's what it is then. He says, "What do I need you for?" And he turns to Stan. Stan is there, and Stan is presenting him the deal with the MLM, or is he already a part
He's
of it?
already a part of the MLM, so we might have to find a way to squeeze that either into his montage or just like make a reference to it during his discussion with Stan.
Stan offers him some encouragement, and then he's got some sort of representation of the product there, and he's like, "How am I ever going to get to the cell if I can't even get past the pitch?"
See, obviously he's doing the MLM thing right now because they're bankrolling his bar hopping, but Stan should be coming to him with the offer for this new up and coming, exciting, incredibly low budget experimental production on this new thing called the internet.
Do we do the stupid trope of making like uninformed, "Oh, I don't know about the future," like that stupid actually no, I'm not even going to ask if we're going to do that because we're not going to do that. No hindsight jokes.
Okay, no hindsight jokes.
You know what I mean? When they're like, "The internet, is that some sort of there's a in the tur and there's a net?"
Oh, you mean those jokes. Yeah, I don't think we need to do that, where we kind of lampshade it.
And so does the noisemaker literally make a whole bunch of like not literally make noise, but maybe he's called the noisemaker because he's all talk, and so this is a moment where he monologues in a way that seems almost convincing about why he shouldn't do the internet, and then it cuts to him being a failure.
Elaborate on the monologue. What kind of stuff would he say?
Well, he's suddenly filled with a whole bunch of gusto, and he has a bunch of very reasonable points about why the internet will never work and why he needs to work for himself and believe in the MLM or whatever. And then the very next scene is like the future where he squandered an opportunity.
Okay, well, he's definitely squandering an opportunity. How does he convince Stan to let it go?
So do you mean there's like the scene needs to involve more dialogue between them? So not a monologue, but convincing Stan of why it's a bad idea.
Well, I mean, he can if he monologues well enough, Stan can just say, "Okay, I'll forget about it." But like Stan wants him to do it because Noisemaker's success is Stan's success.
So is the scene is more of so to sort of go to use the prints and the huge tracts of land sort of foundation again. Is it Stan trying very hard to convince the noisemaker of why he needs to make this move, but then the noisemaker is just sort of like in a haze. He's not hearing the words that he's saying, and he kind of wants to do his own thing. He doesn't get it.
He definitely doesn't get it. The internet is strange, new, and confusing to him, and he doesn't think it's going to last or make a big impact.
Every good point that Stan has for why he should do it, he has a reason. They're like, "No, that doesn't make any sense. If I did that, then blah blah blah."
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, Stan is trying to sell it. He has to explain what it is first.
And so, do we make a meal of that by using? Because that's sort of the same thing of using backwards terms to try to explain to somebody what the internet is. Or is that the joke? And Stan literally tells him all the great things that will literally and have occurred on the internet since then, and the noisemaker doesn't believe him.
Well, Stan can say like all the things that it could be, like what its potential is, that uh, closely reference or mirror things that actually occurred. But of course, the modern internet is basically a huge shit pile of garbage and obscenity, and I don't think Stan's going to include that in his sales pitch.
No, he describes it as sparkling and golden. He's like, imagine a man starts selling books out of his garage, and a couple of years later, he's the richest man in the world.
Yeah, stuff like that. Hopeful potentialities. That the kind of things that the internet would and does facilitate. And yeah, the noisemaker shuts it down.
Maybe he also does describe the things that are trashy about the internet, but he's excited about them because of the money making opportunities. Like he is like everything is dollar signs.
Actually, that is probably more fitting with Stan's character. Money, money, money. He's a sleazy, greasy little bear.
In fact, he has a theme song to the tune of Winnie the Pooh, and it's a sleazy little greasy little bear.
He really is.
Okay, so noisemaker turns him down. Keeps believing in his MLM. Is there some sort of irony in that the MLM fails because it also didn't foresee the need to move on to the internet?
Quite possibly. And also quite possibly because they failed to put together a large enough legal team.
Maybe. Oh, so when we cut to the future and he's sitting in the same bar again, is he flicking through some sort of social media and then it like crashes or something and he like curses and he's like fucking internet, and then somebody at the bar next to him goes like, I don't know, gets you every time, eh? And he kind of looks up with a glimmer of hope and like wipes the dust off of his little MLM kit on the bar.
You mean he's about to try to make a sale?
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is my chance.
I think it's funny if the MLM is actually struggling so badly that even their celebrity spokesperson has to go out and pitch this stuff.
Yeah, he's like almost like a door-to-door salesman, but he can't even be bothered to go door to door. He just stays in the bar and waits for people to come.
And he's their celebrity spokesperson. Usually they get paid just to be there and be advertised.
He has
But no, he has to go out and sell it because they're doing so badly that they can't afford to pay him to be in photos.
and actually sometimes when he goes to make a sale, like maybe somebody's like, "Hey, do I recognize you?" And he goes, "Oh yeah," and he pulls a little sign out of his like briefcase and it says autographs $5.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for that.
Yeah, it all goes in the coffer.
All right, so he denies Stan's pitch. He denies the job for the internet, and then he goes back to languishing with the MLM that it somehow continues to putt along. Like it never actually has total failure, and as such, neither does he. He just stews in mediocrity and relative anonymity. How do we end this?
Well, I was gonna say maybe it ends on him looking up, hopefully about to make the sale. That seems like a finishing point. He's still going.
Ah, that like a finishing point, and it also kind of implies that the MLM just it'll just keep on kicking.
Yeah, they never really go away. They just change names and products.
Yeah, they rebrand to avoid legal difficulty. Okay, so he looks up, happy. He might have a sale. End.
And yeah, saxophone music.
Are we talking sad saxophone music or like pornographic sad?
I guess
Like,
not even saxophone, but I guess like soprano sax, but more like clarinet music, like just like coffee house music, like just time rolls on.
yeah, and then of course later he gets eaten by one of the internet entities.
Yeah, long in the future in a different time.
At which point that his scene in the movie is more of a callback, which that I mean that'll probably happen a lot in the movie. A lot of various characters, entities, places, and things that have been referenced in the show earlier will make like very brief appearances in the film, and I don't know, probably
Yeah,
get
I
eaten.
mean, like the spirit and the aesthetic of the show is sort of based on little nods and references to things in pop culture. So it would really make sense that a movie in this IP would involve references to itself.
Yeah, obviously, it's got to have lots of those references to stuff. It's got to be so meta, and every now and then we should probably recognize that and begin to mention it and say, "Isn't that weird?" Only for something to immediately steal our attention, so we never actually get to discuss it.
Yeah, and at one point, somebody who's saying, "Hey, isn't that weird?" The other one observes, like, "Hey, you don't need to draw attention to it every time. You don't need to make a meal out of it."
Yes, the one time when there isn't anything around to immediately take over the scene and distract us, just like a random bystander will say, you don't have to point that out every time. Who is this guy? Who knows? Who cares? He's aware, but he doesn't think it's
Yeah,
important.
just like a bystander at a bus stop or something.
And of course he gets on a bus and it leaves, but we're just like, yeah, okay.
He says it just as he's getting on.
Exactly. Like it's just a passing comment before he abandons the scene.
The door closes as he like pulls his head in through the frame.
All right. So, does that mean we're going to discuss the film some more, or do we want to move on to a bit?
I think we should move on to another bit.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I wanted to talk about the idea of a sitcom a little bit because we had talked about the idea. I very briefly mentioned the prompt that I wrote down was blooper reel from failed TNT sitcom pilot. And then I was thinking maybe what we could actually do with that because I don't think I want to commit to writing a whole sitcom, but I do really like the idea of making another cardboard box set based on a classic like like multicam sitcom set, like a living room with the stairs in the back and all that.
Oh yeah,
And
and of
then
course we got to have the kitchen with the back door.
yes, of
That
course.
like the back door that leads directly into the kitchen, through which somebody enters with a briefcase to do the "Honey, I'm Home" bit.
The Honey I'm Home bit, but that's also where like the neighbor kid always comes in through the back door.
Yeah, intrusive neighbor of any description always comes to that back door to bother us.
So I think sort of a way that we could turn that into a recurring set that we use over and over again is not to do a blooper reel, but to do a recurring bit where we do episode recaps from an episode of the show that didn't actually happen, but we do a couple minute recap by quickly moving through the plot of a sitcom episode. And so we're just doing bit.
Oh, it's just like a rapid fire pile of like little bits, and you want to do that how often?
Well, not often, but when we think of a good one that would fit into sitcom tropes, like it's sort of an opportunity when we come up with a bunch of jokes and we're not really sure where to slot them, or if we come up with gimmicks that seem like they are like really prime for a sitcom environment, or if we want to do something kind of dramatic and we're not sure where to fit it in, then we can use that environment to just kind of like string it out. And so it's not something that happens regularly, but it's something that can happen multiple times.
It's almost like a collector for all the various jokes that don't fit necessarily anywhere else, or ones that are too short and a little too simple to be made and expanded into a full kind of a sketch in and of itself.
Yeah, they can be a random scene from a sitcom story.
And I also think that that secondary set, if we want it, can definitely be an opportunity to place, Family Guy style. Oh yeah, remember the time when XYZ happened? And then there we are in the little sitcom house.
Oh yeah. Memories from yeah, exactly. Remember when that happened?
Yeah, like playing Remember When, but I definitely think that should have been that place will be the setting for a project we did in the past or something, and like there should probably be some kind of camera color filter on it to represent that it's old.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. It's old and also the costumes are old. This is sort of like it serves the function of this is sort of like our intergalactic TV.
Oh, and Tucker can have like short hair and no scruff on his face.
He's literally just Calvin.
Yeah, dark-haired Calvin. And like he's just young instead of starting to look like he's given up on life.
I like that idea. He looks young, he's clean shaven and he's got like a crew cut or whatever, and then Todd has long gangly hair and he's got like a soul patch.
Oh, soul patch. Oh, you ever see one of those and just badly want to hit someone in the face with a shovel?
Well, yeah, I kind of want to see if I can dry my shoes off on it.
So yeah, I definitely think that Todd would be great with a little soul patch. Although it would be a bit strange if his cheeks happened to be the same relative shape as his current beard.
He's still pointy like Hobbs.
Yeah, like what's underneath that fur? It turns out that is his jawline.
That's extremely funny.
Okay, so yeah, in that alternative set, they're young and different.
Maybe there is a reveal scene of like going back in time, and they wake up in their bedroom or whatever it is inside the sitcom house, and they have their beds across the room from each other, and they look over at each other, and he's got the pointy, clean shaven face, and Tucker's kind of like, "Oh, I thought," and Todd goes, "No," or some reference to that.
Well, like they shared a dream.
But no, like Tucker, or sorry, yeah, Tucker always thought that Todd had, it was just a beard, but it was a point. It's been a pointy face, like sort of like a self-referential moment of, "Hey, oh, I thought it wasn't just the audience."
Oh, oh. Tucker sees his shaven face for the first time ever and is dumbfounded.
Yeah, we do a, maybe not a Ren and Stimpy zoom in, but we do a zoom in on the points and kind of like Tucker looking over in mild like disgust slash fascination.
Yeah, he is definitely concerned in a way that a scientist is concerned when they see something weird that they can't explain. So his eyes are slitted. He's just kind of staring in scrutiny, and I guess Todd will be like, "What?" And Tucker can say, "You know what? Nothing."
Maybe Tucker comes over and uses a Sharpie to color in the points and make it look like it's just colored in beard, which will look the exact same because of the art style.
Yeah, that's definitely something that could be done. I like a Sharpie or some other kind of colored
Yeah,
marker.
there, that's better.
It could be used to make it a different. It could be used to make it any color too. Like I don't know, this is the only one I had. That's why it's purple. Oh yeah, and Todd doesn't have any glasses.
No, everybody is different. Are we wearing like schoolboy outfits
That's a good question. Is what they might be wearing.
or like period dress?
I'm gonna since they do seem to have a habit of wearing more or less the same clothes regardless of what the circumstances are, I think it's safe to say that they will only have one outfit apiece in that time period. So we'll have to it whatever it is, it just has to be different than what they have now. Either that or it just has to be like a distinctly older variant of what they have.
Like I kind of wonder if they're back in the 90s. Like when I said soul patch for Todd, I sort of imagined like a puka shell necklace and that's a whole sort of look.
Well, in that case, I think Tucker should be wearing a short-sleeved collared shirt with a tie.
Short sleeve collared shirt with a tie. Okay, yeah.
Because a long-sleeve collared shirt is actually classy and dignified, the short-sleeve collared shirt makes you look like a loser.
And cargo pants.
And cargo pants.
That's the look, man. So much promise, these two.
They're gonna look like a couple of dorks.
Okay, and so that is what the sitcom is, and I don't have any specific jokes or storylines for it, but I wanted to establish that.
Oh yeah, we've put together the setting. We've put it in it. We've given it a time and a place and a purpose, and that'll do.
We could come up with one briefly if we wanted to do a Honey I'm Home gag. Do you have a Honey I'm Home gag?
Yeah, it was Honey, I'm Home.
That was all. And then the uproarious canned laughter.
Well, no, the idea was that in this case, I think it's Tucker who comes home with the Honey, I'm Home, steps in through that kitchen back door, sets his briefcase down on either a kitchen island or on the table directly, and there is Todd in a goddamn apron making dinner, and Todd, yeah, in this one instance, Todd is in the wife role despite being the big one.
Okay, so we're playing up the domestic trope, but with the two of us.
Yes, we're taking it and we're gonna kick a fucking field goal with it. So, and my imagining was that at that point, Todd would have to make some kind of remark to Tucker as soon as he comes in the door that would then cause the cueing of the laugh track.
Something about how you ruined the supper or something like that.
Something, something like that. Or like, oh, you just missed the neighbor, and I say, haha, no, I didn't. By the way, we're gonna have to buff that dent out of my car.
Oh, that would be kind of interesting. Like, I could not get away from the neighbor again. He won't stop talking to me. Like some kind of reference to the neighbor talking to you trope in sitcoms.
Yeah, naturally. But would like you'd have to name him and say, you just missed so and so, and I'd be like, no, I didn't. I hit him.
I really must interject and point out how rudely Todd steamrolls Tucker's joke here. Like really. Some partner. Tucker, I think it's funny. Hee hee.
You know, I thought when we put up a fence, I'd stop having to put up with talking to the neighbor, but he just keeps building his stool higher or whatever.
Oh, then we can have a Tim the Toolman Taylor kind of scene where he's just always trying to talk to us just over the fence, and no matter how high we build it, he can still talk to us over it.
Actually, that's sort of funny if he has a neighbor, because I think in that show, could you see the neighbor's eyes?
I think you could see the neighbor's eyes. I don't recall ever seeing his mouth.
Okay, so I think it would be kind of funny if we have a neighbor, but all you can see is his bucket hat and all of his words are muffled.
Oh, okay. So all of his words are muffled. The audience doesn't understand him. Do we?
No, we don't understand, and we're actually pissed off because it's like, I don't know what you're saying, dude.
Okay, so we don't get it either, and it annoys us because he always continues to try to communicate with us with his muffled little voice.
Yeah, and we're like pointing out the fact that I don't know why he doesn't bother standing. Like the fence is absurdly high, so he has to be standing on something to get up that high anyway. So I don't know why he doesn't just stand up so we can hear him.
Yeah, he can.
Or
There's no height that's insurmountable to him, but he can't goddamn project his voice.
or the fence is extremely short, and you can actually see that he's crouching down in order to keep his face obscured.
Actually, I think we can do both gags, where we have it really, really high and get tired of not being able to understand him, so then we just make a really short fence, and he is still at the exact same eye level with the fence.
Is it two different scenes where the fence has been changed because we're frustrated, or is the fence long at one point and like high at one point and short at the other? And so we're like, hey, I'm come over to where the fence is shorter, and so we see the hat moving, and then as we get to the shorter point, that's when he crouches down.
I think it might be a little bit funnier if we juxtapose between two scenes with a totally different fence height, rather than gradually walking down it as it gets shorter for some reason. And also, I don't think we should ever see his body. So it should never be clear whether he's more than a goddamn head that just happens to hang on the top of the fence.
Okay, I like that idea. So we have the scene where we're looking at the fence going, I don't know why he doesn't just poke his head up a little bit higher, and then it does what's it called? Like a rotation edit where the frame literally spins on a center axis horizontally, and then on the other side is the scene of them having put the last nail in the new fence, which is shorter. And then they turn around, they hear the voice muffled, and they turn around, and there's kind of like a surprise sound cue. You know, the Pokemon appears surprise cue or whatever that sound is.
Yeah, it's almost it's a tug on some strings.
Yeah, and it reveals that the hat is like down there now.
Yeah, and we never see his body or anything, so we don't know if he's crouching. We don't know if he's more than just like a head that floats there or just somehow clings to the fence. But no matter what, he is always the exact same height relative to the top of the fence.
And you can never quite hear what he's saying.
And you can never quite hear what he's saying. He's always just mumbling and muffled, and he never shuts up. He continues to talk for so long as you're there, and for several minutes after you leave.
Oh, you can hear him as they move and the sound trails off.
Yeah, exactly. And like they can move, and in fact, in some scenes they can leave, but the focus of the scene can still stay outside at the fence where he continues to mumble. What if he does come to the door and he has to bring a fence board with him to stand behind?
Or do they have a French door?
You mean a Dutch door, you absolute imbécile.
Yeah, but what happens when they have to open the door?
He Spider-Mans. He goes to it's funny they do a bottom part and top part gag.
Whatever happens, he has to stay with the door. If the part that he's on moves, he moves with it.
Yeah, and so they open the door and he is like clinging to it. He just opens with it.
And starts mumbling.
He's just talking to them from behind the door as it's open. And they're just rolling their eyes.
And yes, now that you said he's, this is definitely just like a spider with a hat. It's one of those Lovecraftian things. It's just a man's head with spider legs, like right out of the thing.
Did you say a man with spider's legs?
No, it's just a man's head with spider legs, just like coming right out of the bottom of the head, and he's got a hat on. You know, like right out of the thing.
Yeah, I like that. That's absurd.
But nobody ever sees it. But just in case we ever find the perfect moment to reveal that, that's what he is. He's just like it is a human head with spider legs. Exactly the kind of thing that gave me nightmares from Toy Story.
He has like a spin-off sitcom called like 8 Simple Legs or something like that.
Okay, and all he does is mumble in it too. But his mumbles get laugh tracks.
Right, exactly. You get the mumble, and then you get the laugh track. I feel that so much.
In fact, I think his mumbled responses to us that nobody understands should also get laugh tracks in our sitcom.
Actually, it's a whole family of people who are hiding behind various objects, mumbling to each other.
Hey, how are the kids?
Yeah. And
And then it cuts to a scene of them all mumbling to each other. One stuck behind a potted plant.
Yeah, one's behind the sofa, one's behind a door, one's behind a potted plant.
All right. I think that means that we're just about finished with our little sitcom idea.
Yeah, I think that one's
But
all
that's
right.
whatever that is definitely what we did before we started what we're doing now. Probably separated by like 10 years.
Yeah, we may have even been inspiration for the Butcher, the Baker, and the Candlestick Maker. They saw us do it.
Ooh, that would connect it and kind of make it a bit bitter.
Or the other way around. We saw them do it. Maybe that's what it is.
Oh, they inspired us, and we found way more success than the noisemaker,
Yeah,
despite
exactly.
ripping off the entire thing like he could have and should have.
Which is, I'm sure, which is like a true story for many people out there.
Yeah, probably because those who come after tend to innovate.
I mean, like literally all the kids that, like the millennials that had the opportunity to use the technology that was being used for new platforms that were, fuck, you know what I'm saying. If you have the opportunity to jump on something when it's being figured out before anybody knows what it is, then the one generation behind who is using it after YouTube tutorials have been made for how to do the thing, then they're going to do it better.
Well, naturally, you are basically the beta tester for them.
Yeah, exactly. So they were the beta testers for us, and then we just capitalized on the space that they made for us.
That's right, and
which is what we're doing.
But yeah, that's literally what we're doing. Although the jury's out on whether we're doing it better. But even so, the sitcom, did it ever make it out of the pilot? Or does everything we ever reference just reference the pilot, and it's just like a never-ending potential infinite gold mine of tiny jokes?
Oh, that's actually really funny. And maybe we could be a little bit self-referential sometime, or not self-referential, but I guess meta self-referential, and make a reference to the fact that, like, well, we just made it the longest sitcom ever, or the longest pilot ever. Like, it's actually regarded, it's kind of well known in Hollywood for being the longest pilot ever. And the reason that we did that was just because, like, well, we weren't sure what was good enough, so we just kept everything in.
Yeah, we didn't have an editor, so nothing got cut.
Yeah, maybe that can sort of be a reference when we're like, hey, remember that? Remember in that episode of the sitcom, blah, 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 and somebody makes a reference like, okay, you've told me like 30 stories about this pilot or about the sitcom. Are they all from the same, like some sort of reference, you know? No, they're all from the same episode. It's all the pilot.
Yeah, we only ever made one episode. What the hell is going on here?
And we showed them the Wikipedia page for like world's longest pilot.
Yep, and somehow it gets longer every time we add a new joke to it.
And actually, yeah, maybe when it gets long enough, we can release like supercuts of the pilot where it's like, here's the pilot when it was 20 minutes long, here's the pilot when it was an hour, and it's just getting longer and longer.
Oh, that's actually pretty funny. Because then if we can really kind of refine what goes into the pilot a bit, if anything, it'll be a best hits list.
It's a best hits list, and then it's also, yeah, it's sort of like a collector's box eventually.
And of course, it'll include all the things being referenced to, but it won't. Or yeah, it'll include all the bits that people reference to, but it won't include any of the context as to why they're referencing to it, which is funny to me.
Yeah, like that. This is grand.
Yeah, and now we've created a little sideshow project.
But it all still fits on the channel.
Yeah, it does, and it will just occupy pretty much the same kind of 3 to 5 minute bit slot as a lot of the other things we've proposed.
Precisely. So, should we do a nursing home for buffalo with dementia?
Right, and we've got the bison scene, and I've got a bison, and we need the straight woman.
So the prompt is, this is the home where the buffalo roam. And so is it literally a building and they're all anthropomorphized buffaloes? Or is it like a plain?
I think that this begins with an image that the camera draws back to reveal is a billboard advertisement for a Buffalo retirement community.
Oh, we see the plane, and then as it zooms out, we realize that the plane is an ad, is a billboard.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
And it has the subtext of this is the home where the buffalo roam.
And you see like serene buffalo in the golden grain or whatever, and then it zooms out to reveal the car driving down the road, and maybe that's where they're driving to the bison, the bison. It's hard to put the emphasis on it right.
It is.
The bison is in the car. They're driving out to visit Grandpa in the buffalo home.
Yeah, that is where that car is going. This billboard is on the path to the Buffalo retirement community. That's where they're going, and yes, I guess the bison is going to go visit Grandpa.
And so maybe it's a mom and dad and the kid is sort of like resentful about having to go, and they get there and somebody recognizes them and says, "Oh, is this your oldest?" And they go, "No, this is my bison."
Even though Bai has nothing to do with his age.
Well, I know it has. I don't know. I don't think anybody would say, "Is this your straight son?"
You could always say, "Is this your favorite?" And then you've got Evil Dad.
That is very funny, and it's not especially vitriolic. Like, it's not targeting anybody as a specific barb.
No, but it is kind of painting this dad as being one of those jerk dads.
Which is fine. He can have some sort of comeuppance.
Yeah, absolutely. So long as we portray his behavior as being not good and don't reward him for it, we're fine. So is this one your favorite? No, this is my bison.
And then straight woman works at the nursing home and she overhears and interjects.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Does she have a lecture planned, or does she just like give him a whack on the nose with a rolled up newspaper and say no?
I don't know. She goes, "Hey, he is your son."
Oh, well, obviously that's what she should say. You are absolutely correct.
And then somebody else corrects her because she's the straight woman and says, "No, don't you get it? He's a bison."
Should they be allowed to complete that thought, or should they sort of be attempting to say it and then get cut off? Because that way we don't actually have to call out the joke directly.
Oh, are they? So they're like trying to explain the joke. They're like, "No, don't you get it? It's because he's a buffalo." They're calling him, and that's when he gets bonked on the head by somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. That way we can get within a hair of just like explaining the joke, but we don't.
Don't you get it? This is a home where the buffalo roam. He's a
Bonk.
Yeah.
I forget how the the straight woman was supposed to basically end that sketch.
Well, we had said that, I don't know if we had. Oh, this is funny. I don't think we had an actual idea for what she would do.
No, I see it. There was supposed to be a sign that said bison.
We had said maybe that the bison is in the dead joke pile.
Yeah, we pick it up and look at it, and then the straight woman tells us no.
I think what we just came up with was better than that.
I agree, and it's quite possible that that bonk causes the joke to fall out of that guy's head and just land in the dead joke pile.
Oh, I like that idea. You know, in Kill Bill, when they're showing the anime section and the little girl's father dies and she says whimper and the words whimper come out of her mouth one letter at a time and then she swallows them back.
Yes.
So sort of like that, where he starts saying it and then the bonk knocks the letters bison out of his head and they fall down into the joke pile.
Yeah, exactly. And then, if you want, we can show up to reach down to pick it up, and she can just no.
Leave it.
Yeah, because here, what do we have? She stares us down for an awkward amount of time, complete with tense violin strings, holding the tense mood way past the point of comfort until we just quietly put the thing back down.
Yeah, I think we can still kind of do. Yeah, we can do that.
Because it falls out and we treat it like money that fell out of some guy's pocket. We quickly go to pick it up. Oh, hey, free joke. But she's already on the scene.
Okay, so that joke gets lost, and then does it become about her? Is she there for that moment? Do we come back to the buffaloes? Oh, how does the father have a comeuppance? Was it just a slap in the face?
Since we've explained that it's a play on words rather than something actually offensive, does he still need to have a comeuppance?
Oh, maybe.
What if he's in on the joke?
Does it get meta and he makes a reference to somebody spins around on him and he like makes a comment about like we're all just here to play parts and setups, or like we're all just here as setups.
Only if he can find a way to say it that's a buffalo pun.
Well, fuck, how many buffalo puns can you think of? All I can think is things that are wing related.
Look, I already wanted to do the bison thing, and that was the full extent of my contribution here. I've got nothing left.
Give me a moment. Oh, or maybe it's not buffalo related. Maybe it's another wordplay from that song, the Deer and the Antelope play.
Are we still trying to figure out a comeuppance for the jerk dad?
Well, I don't know. I think you were correct in that he didn't actually deserve one because he was just sort of like a pawn in the joke.
And since somebody else there was referencing that it was in fact just a joke, it was a play on words, then yeah, he gets to be in on it, and he doesn't have to be the jerk dad at all. And that means the only thing the straight woman has left to do is glare at us, which, I mean, that's her favorite thing to do.
Do we have one of the buffaloes with dementia do some sort of lighthearted dementia joke? Because that's another thing, by the way. It would be cool if movies stopped representing dementia as hilarious. I don't exactly want to do that. I don't want to like make fun of somebody's brain going away.
No, there's nothing funny about dementia. So, what do you want to do with it?
Well, that's what I don't think, because what I was going to suggest is having one of them say something absurd that kills the tension and allows the scene to just end.
How about a bit of anti-humor instead?
How anti-humor?
Well, you know, it has to be so unfunny that it's more just like surreal and absurd, but enough so that it, kind of bounces all the way back around to being funny again.
Maybe. Oh, are you saying instead of making a cliched dementia joke, one of the patients in the home actually like grabs one of our characters by the arm and gives them a very like chilling description of the experience of what it's like to have dementia, and then like it cuts away from that into a less serious moment?
Yes, exactly that. It should be very tense and serious, and in fact, the camera slowly zooms in, and like the edges of the frame darken as like the guy explaining it, his face becomes like the sole focus of the shot. Like everything else dims and darkens, and then once he's done giving his explanation, his expression changes to a smile, and then the entire frame immediately lights back up, and then the camera backs up, and then he says something like charming and cheerful, and then that's the end.
Maybe that's not the end. Maybe that cuts to you and I. Maybe it breaks the fourth wall and we zoom out behind like the cameras and the lights and whatever. And we're like, why did we think it was a good idea to shoot in this place?
Yeah, okay. I'm okay with that's meta too. I love meta.
And sort of making a comment on
Yeah, what kind of thing? What kind of thing should he say?
what should he say as the soft
As
version.
the as the as the juxtaposition back to a light-hearted mood. Something like, but don't worry, that'll never happen to you.
Don't worry, that will happen to you. Or is it like, oh, Jeopardy's on in 3?
Okay, so the man delivers that chilling description, followed by a very wild shift in tone back to something lighthearted, and then it immediately cuts to us asking why we thought it was a good idea to shoot there in the first place at all.
Oh, maybe does he scare the shit out, like literally scare the shit out of whoever he's giving that speech? That he says whatever, he kind of like giggles to himself, and then it cuts to the person like shitting their pants or whatever, and somebody in who works at the senior home, as it cuts to an exterior shot, makes like a sitcom, like, oh no, now I gotta clean up another one or something like that.
I was trying to figure out how we could figure bullshit into that.
Figure bullshit.
I mean, it's technically Buffalo shit, but
Oh yeah. Man, I wish we could be like, since it is a nursing home, we're not going to, but one of the buffaloes should have his head smashed in.
I mean, one of them could be still quite alive after having his head smashed in, and he's just got like a big dent in it now.
Yeah, that's a tiny little nod to like 3 people that will get it.
I mean, is it worth it?
No.
I'll get it. But yeah, he doesn't have to have a like, especially if we do it subtly. If we do it really subtle, then even fewer people will get it because it's not even smashed in, it's just head dented.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of imagining was dented. He's got like a bandage on his head and it's got a little divot in it.
I mean, the worst, we could just directly call it out. What happened to this one? Head smashed in.
You could have a little, maybe because they're in a nursing home, one of them is doing a buffalo puzzle, and somebody finishes the puzzle, but they haven't used one of the pieces, and somebody makes a reference like, no, you have to use every piece or every part. You have to use every part.
See, that's even more obscure of a reference.
Is it? I feel like it's almost like a culturally known thing.
It is, but you have to say it in a much more obvious way for anybody to clue in, because you have to say none of this animal goes to waste.
Okay, let's move on from this one.
Yeah, let's move on. We've already written that scene. Now we're just adding like little details into it that it probably won't benefit from.
Okay, should we do the hood rat thing?
Yeah, let's wrap it up with the hood rat.
Okay, so my idea was the prompt was sort of problematic phrases that are sort of have gone out of fashion or are being phased out. And the first one that I came up with was hood rat. So somebody makes a reference to something being a hood rat, and then somebody takes offense to that and tries to begins to object to it, but then it cuts to literally a rodent dressed as Robin Hood. It is a hood rat. And the one that you suggested after that was saying your people, or like the you people, or like, yeah, you were saying your people, like people like your people. And then it cuts to your YORE people. And I said that that's a peephole of your, like a peephole that you peep through.
Yeah, and through the peephole of your, you get to observe the your people.
There's actually some people inside, and I don't know if they're like in a tiny little world inside, or if the peephole is actually like in a wall or a door, and they're just like in another room. And there's a
It's a hole in a fence around their commune.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I said that it's a cult. So it turns out that there's a little sign over the people of Yore that say, or maybe does it say your people, or I said people of Yore.
People of your, they don't like to be called your people. So technically, somebody is still objecting to it in this sketch. It's just they're objecting to it for completely different reasons.
But the peephole.
The peephole of your, through which one could observe the people of your.
Right. And so there's a sign above the peephole, kind of like in like a museum, like I proposed it sort of like a heritage tourist attraction. And so there's a little tag or sign or whatever that indicates that it's the peephole of your. So it's spelled out, and then you look inside, and then there's a similar tag above the display or next to the display of people, humans of yore, and then the person looking through the people reads the sign and goes, "People of yore." Or your people. Yeah, because the sign says your people. And then he reads the sign and says your people. And that's when somebody indignantly goes, "Excuse me, your people. We are the people of yore." And then it turns out that they're actually members of a cult. Does it turn out? Is it a cult that the people of yore?
I think it should definitely be a cult because you can do so many fun things with a cult and get away with it. Cults are a little bit like Nazis, you know, they're acceptable targets. You can throw just about whatever you like at them.
Yeah, are they really like comic caricatures of cults? Like, are they wearing robes?
They should be a goddamn cartoon.
So yeah, something that kind of
So
tells into when you
they've
first
got
see them used.
they've got full like full pyramid pointy hats and everything.
A
So
tri-point hat.
it looks like a meeting of the KKK but with better fashion sense.
Oh, that's interesting. Is this where we come into Matthew? This is Matthew McConaughey's cult, and it's not that they're the KKK, but he says, "Okay, okay, okay."
Ow. That hurt me in a deep place. Yes. at long last, we found a place to put Matthew McConaughey.
He's taking over, trying to spread his hive mind through the people of yore, and it's not the KKK. It's his okay, okay, okay.
Because all right just doesn't work with this, but in our world he says okay.
Well, we couldn't get the rights to it or something. He makes a comment about that. Somebody asked him, like, "Isn't it all right, all right, all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I couldn't get the rights." Well, that's like I was listening to, once again, the Smart List podcast. The podcast with Will Arnett, Jason Bateman, and Sean Hayes, and they had David Cross on, and they were talking about when he and Bob Odenkirk did the Netflix show with Bob and David, and the reason that they called it that is because HBO wouldn't give them the rights to the name Mr. Show.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah. The Mr. Show, they couldn't get the rights to it, so they had to pick a new name.
They revealed a couple things about the apparently there's actually like a rivalry between HBO and Netflix. Like they hate each other, they're enemies. Because when Tony Hale, also from Arrested Development, was on Veep on HBO, when they brought Arrested Development back, HBO prevented him from doing any press for Arrested Development because it would like bring Netflix business.
Oh, so they actually tried to inhibit viewership.
Yeah, by preventing him from like showing up on like magazine covers and stuff. So that's I never want to get into that business.
No, definitely not. I think we'll go ahead and stay away from cutthroat stuff. We'll just stick with okay. So yes, they don't like to be called your people. Excuse you. We are the people of yore. So yeah, we make sure that somebody in this sketch still objects to each one of the things we might say.
Which is, you know what? We're accidentally making kind of a little bit of a social commentary because this is literally, maybe I might cut this section out. People can figure it out on their own. But this is literally
LOL. You actually have to figure it out on your own.
Remember, active and passive voice.
Yeah. So is there a character? Oh yeah, because we said we are the people of yore, lieutenants of the passive voice. So is the cult called passive voice?
And their meditative mantra is okay.
Oh my god, this is coming together.
Okay. I'm afraid I'm gonna start saying that now.
And do they have a rivalry with another cult called Active Voice?
I mean, I don't see why not. But what does the active voice cult want that's different from this cult? And why are they fighting about it?
Well, they want you to be more assertive.
I guess they would, wouldn't they? They just want to do things in a much more forward way.
They're the cult of the Active Voice, and maybe I don't know. Maybe they ended up having to rebrand in the future. Their mantra is "just do it," and then excuse me, and then in the future they have to rebrand and become Nike.
Interesting. How do they become Nike?
That's a whole separate sketch.
And also, there's a lot of emphasis going on with the Yore People over the hood rat. Is the hood rat really just the like a little opener that just brings us into the Your People?
Well, that's what I'm not sure if we did the hood rat at all. So that I'm not sure when I proposed this premise, it was a very broad premise. That's what, so I don't know if this is we have multiple separate sketches where this type of joke is being made. Hood rat is one of them. There's a whole separate hood rat sketch where the hood rat is discovered because I feel like a Robin Hood rat character sort of should be explored a little bit.
I mean, can't be any worse than the Robin Hood Fox character.
Do they exist in the same universe and he's aware of the Fox character? Is this another he's pissed off because he missed his chance to get in on the anthropomorphic Robin Hood trend?
So what does he do? I guess if he's not the real Robin Hood, he's just like a cosplaying rat.
Or does he exist in a very rat-like world? Like he's literally going to like pizza joints in New York and stealing pizza from I don't know, some other kind of animal and distributing it to subway rats.
So in his estimation, the rats are the needy and everybody else is not. I definitely think it would succeed better if these are all big fucking New York rats and they're stealing pizza though.
And but are they? Is it sort of? Is it a Sheriff of Notting Hood aesthetic, but it takes place in New York?
Nottingham?
Nottingham. Yeah, I said Notting Hood.
Robin Hood.
Robin of Notting Hood.
You getting tired? Your coffee starting to peter out?
No, it's a hood. It's a guy. It's a hood with many knots in it.
All right. I think we're up to like 10 or 12 on our gag meter.
Too many
For
gags.
how many little. Yeah, I think we've gone over the threshold for how many gags we're allowed to have in a single episode.
Well, then, does the hood rat get his own thing? Is it a series of short, quick misunderstandings of the words and then cutting to something else? I feel like People of Yore is has many layers to it.
I think that the hood rat, if we don't want to expand on it to make it into a bigger thing, can serve as like a conceptual opener to the Your People. Just because it's a similar basic concept, only the Your People winds up with the joke premise being basically completely overtaken by culty weirdiness. So with the hood rat, the joke premise is just problematic turns of phrase. With the Your People, it's a problematic turn of phrase for like 30 seconds and then it becomes a sketch about something else entirely. But one can easily lead into the other.
Oh, maybe it's about the Your People, and then somebody after the misunderstanding is made, somebody with the character who made the misunderstanding makes reference like that's like back. Remember when you did that with the hood rat? And then it cuts to a quick shot of the hood rat.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a prime candidate for Remember When.
Yeah,
Your People, huh? Isn't that like that time with the hood rat?
this is exactly like that time with the hood rat.
And now we're hanging out with Matthew McConaughey's hive mind cult, which I mean I have been itching to get back into playing with because we talked about them once upon a time and never touched it again.
And so now we're back. And is he using the same methods? Because before we were saying that what it was this like this mimetic effect of the phrase all right. So now it is the mantra of this cult, which is okay. And did they have a mission? What is his mission? To make everybody passive? To spread the passive voice?
I think he's just going around doing his speech from The Wolf of Wall Street about they jerk off enough, and whatever, regardless of what their answer is, he says okay, and then he starts brainwashing them. I just have to make a reference to that because it's the most surreal scene I've ever seen in a film.
A reference to him? Oh, do we also have the scene where he does that little the pounding on the chest and the humming?
I think that's all part of the same scene.
Okay, so that I mean maybe part of the mantra is this whole process of like pounding on the chest, humming and saying okay. No, because they need to be separate, right?
Whatever he's doing, he's infecting people's minds with his weird energy.
And so is someone in opposition of this cult, or do we support it or are we against it?
Oh, Speaking of opposition to his cult, that is, since his is the cult of the passive voice, the cult of the active voice is led by somebody who is opposed to Matthew McConaughey.
Like, does Matthew McConaughey have an enemy?
I mean, he does in a lot of films. Pick your favorite.
Oh, do we come back to, is it Bill Murray?
What film? What film was he McConaughey's enemy in?
Well, I was talking. There was a. It's called Larger Than Life, and McConaughey is the bad guy, and Bill Murray is the protagonist.
You hijacked me, and that animal right there tried to kill me. I'm gonna put the both of you behind bars in the state penitentiary. Her for attempted murderer, and you for being an interstate felon. What do you think of that? Oh, nobody goes out to tip Tucker and gets away with it, you hear me? Oh.
Either that, or it could be Idris Elba, and we're actually doing a good version of the Dark Tower.
Oh, I would like Idris Elba to be on our show.
Yeah, so he can be in charge of the active voice cult, and he's trying to get back at Matthew McConaughey because I don't know, but the Dark Tower was a terrible film.
Okay, so or is Matthew McConaughey's enemy a different Matthew McConaughey?
Interesting. So just like a different guy with weird energy that looks just like him, but one of his characters from another film.
Well, yeah, maybe Matthew McConaughey, who is spreading the passive voice, comes from the passive universe or the passive timeline or whatever, the passive dimension, and active voice Matthew McConaughey comes from the active dimension, and they're at odds.
So not only are there two different Matthew McConaughey's and two different cults, but they're from two different dimensions. I think we might need to reel it back in a little bit because we're getting cosmic when we don't have to. We can just have every single movie character he's ever played just somehow be an independent person on the planet.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, as you were saying that, I was starting to come around to that idea of, yeah, so they're not actually Matthew McConaughey's, they're individual human beings who are the characters he's played.
And that's why none of them actually say all right, all right, all right.
And maybe are they opposing cults? Are they vying for supremacy to gain the attention of the original Matthew McConaughey? And that's why they couldn't get rights to his actual catchphrase.
There can be only one. It's Highlander, but Matthew McConaughey. So yeah, it's just the council of Matthews, and they're all out there to kill each other and take the true power for themselves. Each one that dies makes the other ones more powerful. It's like Jet Li and the One.
Oh, so one defeats the other and then consumes it, and then they become
More Conaughey.
Matthew McConaughey. I like that.
I think that's probably my last joke of the night.
Matthew McConaughey. And then so there's a final scene where Matthew McConaughey faces off against Matthew McConaughey.
Is there even a real Matthew McConaughey, or has he actually just split into all of his characters, and only upon all of them like killing and consuming each other does an actual Matthew McConaughey come into being?
Oh, when one finally... So these are the last two left. All of the McConaugheys have been consumed, and it's down to the active voice and the passive voice, and then one defeats the other. There's a gigantic explosion, and it's just Matthew McConaughey sitting there, like laying there naked or whatever. What happened?
And then he immediately gets cast for a role and starts splitting into new characters again.
Does he, or does somebody ask him a question like do you think it's going to be okay? And he says, no, I think it's going to be all right, all right, all right.
But he says, I think it's going to be and then it immediately cuts because I never want him to ever actually be able to say it on our show.
Okay, sure, yeah.
No, I don't think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be
and then it cuts to music.
Perfect. End sketch.
End sketch. End session?
Yeah, I don't think we have time for another. We started early, so we've got more than enough for an episode.
So I've been really happy with our episode lengths lately.
They've been pretty consistent.
All right, then I guess really the only last things to do are to thank you because you were Tucker, and to thank me because I was Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Craig, for not crashing even once.
It's literally the least I can do.
And thank you, Craig, for censoring or at least editing some of my offensive jokes.
I think there was only really one that really caught me off guard.
I think I think there's at least 2 in there.
Remember when, as soon as the cameras rolled, you said,
Okay, faggot, what's next?
Okay, then I'd really need to be reined in by Craig.
yeah, Craig hopped.
Just be like, I'd take one look at Craig and tell him to get out of here because there's no.
Bitch ass hoes.
There's no.
Bitch ass hoes.
Yeah, there's a sign somewhere. No, there definitely won't be. That's a terrible sign to have and a terrible thing to say. Craig, shoot me before I say anything else like that again.
Okay, well, this was a great episode. Thanks for coming along, everybody.
Yes, thanks for listening, and I hope everybody had a good time, and good night.
Okay.
Thanks. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Have an okay night.
Yeah, make sure it's all 3 okays. And get out of here, Craig.
Lick my ass.
I mean it though, get him out of here.
Lick my ass.
Fuck Tucker, Tucker sucks. And fuck Tucker's friend Todd.